Thank you, Stefan. Thank you, Emer, for inviting us to participate in this celebration, this joyful day. It's incredible for me to be here today in front of you. Stefan, it was not exactly that I promised to speak about the future. You proposed me to speak about how I imagine the future. But I have to thank you for doing so because I couldn't like it better. Which is better than imagine the future? That means dream of the future. So that's not an easy task. 30 years ago, Stephen Hawking said the world is changing faster and faster, so we can expect big changes, some very exciting, some alarming. The one thing I am sure of is that it will be very different and probably not as we expected. And I can't get over it. That's, I think we can repeat what he said. But even though we have a mission to accomplish, and I think that overall the mission of the whole network, regulatory network, is to promote and protect the health of humans and animals through medicines based on scientific excellence. And with this in our mind, I invite you to dream of the future we aspire. For example, I would like to see that children that are born with rare diseases have real expectations of a healthy and functional life. I would like that infections are under control with successful and preemptive measures, including vaccines, and the use of effective and safe antibiotics when they are needed. I would like to see that oncological diseases are controlled thanks to good early diagnosis and also to the use of effective medicines that when they are needed, they are perfectly compatible with normal life because they are perfectly tolerated. I can imagine that cardiovascular diseases are a thing of the past in most cases, thanks to the excellent preemptive way of life, healthy lifestyle, as Professor told us before in her keynote speech, but also including the use of medicines to mitigate the effect of these diseases. I also dream of autoimmune diseases are controlled with excellent medicines that keeps patients free from symptoms or outbreaks, or that the elderly have a healthy last stage of life with a neurological status that allows them to keep their functionality and autonomy. And I could add many other dreams, but one of the basics for this make these dreams real is that everything will be supported by a rigorous, reliable and competent European regulatory system led by the EMA. But we regulators, that we have a scientific background and we are scientists regulators, we prefer to shape the future rather than to imagine the future. And organizations have a very useful tool to shape the future. It's the strategic planning. And for that, we deliver every 4 years, more or less, our strategic plan. And we have recently presented our EMAS 2028. This is the first step towards the future, only to 2028. But I think we are in the good direction. In this plan, we selected 6 strategic focus areas, and I invite you to go over these 6 areas. The first one is accessibility. Our vision, our dream, is that European patients have access to the medicines they need in a timely manner and no matter where they live or what economical status they have. And we dream of this, including the feature of affordability, in spite of recognizing that affordability is not part of our remit, but we don't live in an ivory tower, and we know that we can collaborate to make medicines more affordable and accessible to all European citizens. And for that, we will work, and these are the goals within our strategy. We will collaborate to have an effective HTA regulation implementation, to foster a robust scientific evidence that serves to all the decision makers. We need the same criteria for to be accepted by HTA decision makers or by regulators that assess medicines for granting authorization. We have to be sure that all the medicines, breakthroughs, but also patent medicines, cover all the patient's needs, even unmet medical needs. And we have some examples of how to make this real. You can consult through the QR code. The new EU rules for health technology assessments become effective, displayed on the EMA webpage. The second strategic area is leveraging data, digitalization, and artificial intelligence. And our vision here is that the development of medicines will be faster, procedures are agile, the medicine world is interconnected, data generate impactful evidence. And our strategy sets at least 3 goals, like maximizing data utilization and interconnectivity, interoperability. And for that, we foresee to embed EU healthcare data in the network processes, to pilot novel data types like synthetic data, omics, prompts, to ensure, keep the guarantees on the data quality and the interoperability. A second goal will be to leverage digitalization and experimentation in order to optimize regulatory processes and to strengthen digital infrastructure, and also to progress on the veterinary medicines digitalization. And the third goal is to make real the AI's potential, both in throughout the business, the whole, to support the digital business transformation, but also focused on the medicines, covering the whole medicines life cycle, from the early research, clinical research, assessment, and vigilance after marketing. The third strategic area is about regulatory science, innovation, and competitiveness, although competitiveness is embedded in the whole strategic plan. And here our vision is that regulatory science integrate all the scientific and technological breakthroughs for the benefit of patients, human and animals, while respecting the environment and avoiding the use of animals for experimentation. We aspire that ambitious clinical developments bring medicines to cure or alleviate the currently unmet or unsuccessfully met needs. This means that we expect a significant magnitude of benefit, not only a clinically significant benefit, also a vitally significant benefit, because we aspire to change the lives of those who suffer the most. And for that, the strategy sets 3 goals, integrating the advanced science in medicines development and manufacturing. We are seeing great progress in new novel manufacturing systems. We will work to foster innovation of impactful evidence. This means to leverage the power of digitalization, but this means also to set evidence patient-driven, and also to aspire to maximize the benefit achieved by the new medicines. And for that, we will support a close cooperation with the stakeholders, with academia, with researchers, with industry, with patients, to accelerate the translation of innovation. For achieving these goals, the work of one of the working groups within the network, the EU Innovation Network, is really essential, pivotal. You can consult the work plan through the QR code. And one of the exercises in charge they are taking care of is the horizon scanning reports. Horizon scanning are a very powerful tool to scrutinize the future, trying to guess what's coming up. Not only to be prepared for that, but to be part of the development of the way towards the future. So in this, the example that I am presenting in the slide is the last horizon scanning report. It's about new approach methodologies. And the aim of this report is to identify those methodologies that progressively can incorporate alternative methods for the preclinical development of medicines, to accomplished the 3 R's principles: replace, reduce, and refine animal models. And they identified several methods in silico, in vitro, ex vivo, in chemical approaches. And if you want more information, it's nice to see how this bibliometric network analysis have identified a lot of research projects, papers with novel approaches in clusters, classified in clusters, for example, with the cluster of molecular docking, or machine learning, or tissue engineering, organoids. So there are a lot of information in this report that make us be more confident in that future without the use of animals for experimentation, for example. Another important action within this strategic area is to foster the clinical trials in Europe. And for that, we are part, the EMA, along with the national agencies, their network, HMA, and the European Commission will lead this initiative, Accelerating Clinical Trials in the EU, ACT-EU. And the objective of this initiative is to transform the European Union into a region that supports clinical trial development and enables collaboration and innovation in all stages of the clinical research life cycle. But in a nutshell, what we want is to make the European Union the leading region in the world by 2030 in clinical research. And for that, we are analyzing, trying to incorporate the new methodologies of clinical trials while ensuring the integrity of data, the protection of patients and participants in clinical trials. We engage with academia and industry. We work closely with them in the platform, with the stakeholder platform, to receive the direct feedback from them, because that's what drives our actions. And all the system of clinical evidence is patient-driven. Questions are posed by patient needs, and evidence is built on the previous evidence generated. The fourth strategic area is about antimicrobial resistance and other health threats. And our vision here is that infections, as I said before, are under control with successful preemptive measures, including vaccines, and the use of effective and safe antibiotics or antimicrobials when they are needed. And for that, the strategy identifies 3 goals. The first of them is to contribute to the responsible use of antimicrobials, fostering the stewardship programs. And for that, we will increase our efforts in the categorizing and collecting data of consumption of antibiotics both from human and veterinary use. We collect from veterinary use, but we use both sources to modernize and update the product information, especially when it comes to veterinary antibiotics, and to develop regulatory guidance on antimicrobial use in animals. But here, when we are talking about development of antibiotics, this is a known goal, because we know that there is a clear market failure with antimicrobials and antibiotics. So one of our goals is to support development of these new antimicrobials, keeping systematic support to developers and facilitated early discussions with them. But we can't forget that antimicrobial resistance is not the only health threat we are facing. We have very fresh memories of the last pandemic, and we know that we have to strengthen our preparedness for future health threats with One Health perspective, and taking into account that environmental threats are a new important threat. We are seeing how vectors are the displacement of vectors from southern regions to northern regions in Europe. This brings new zoonosis, new potential infectious diseases. So we have to be prepared for new diseases that we haven't had in the past in our region. We need to be prepared in case of an emergency to support end-to-end the development of medical countermeasures, and also to set an appropriate system for timely clinical trials. And all of this with the necessary flexibilities that Guido remembered us how we did in the past pandemic. The fifth strategic area is about availability and supply of medicines. And our vision here is that we will have all the medicines we need because we will count on a reliable supply chain, including veterinary medicines. And for that, the strategy sets two goals: strengthen medicine availability. We have worked very hard in this, and also to reinforce supply chain oversight and increase inspector capacity. And this is really important because we see from innovation that we will be facing new novel manufacturing systems, methods. We have to update our GMPs. We have to be sure that our inspectorates are ready to carry out these inspections with these new criteria. We have enough capacity and capability to cover all the manufacturing and this delivery supplies chain. But also in face of the next Critical Medicines Act, we will also have a say here. The technical criteria for supporting the selection of critical medicines will come from the work of regulators. And the last strategic area, for me, it's the most essential: sustainability of the network, because without the resources, the adequate and proper resources, we won't be able to achieve the previous goals. So the network, our vision is that the network will have the necessary resources, capabilities, and operational model to effectively pursue its long-term goals in protecting public health. And for that, our current strategy sets three goals: reinforce scientific and regulatory capacity and capability, to establish a shared operating model to support network activities and collaboration. And for that, it's essential, and I invite you to consult the work plan by the Network Data Steering Group, including actions on plans about the use of data, interoperability, and uptake of AI in the medicines regulation. And also, last but not least, to strengthen public and stakeholder engagement in defining and designing how we should operate. And my last words are for those who make this possible, for regulators, for the former regulators that have worked for decades so far to bring us the current high-level standards of medicines, for the current scientific regulators that are actively working in providing a more consistent, efficient, innovative, and patient-driven regulatory science to ensure the quality, efficacy, and safety of medicines, but also they are also shaping the future. And also a word for the future regulators, those that in 30 years, some of them can be sit here, can be following the event online. Some of them can be in the nursery or even to be born. But these future regulators in 30 years will have made our visions real. So to them, my deepest recognition and gratitude, the past, the current, and the future regulators. And with that, congratulations to EMA on your 30th anniversary.